Hi, welcome to my channel, Chemistry Project. So today I'm going to be talking about atomic bonds and some things that I'll be covering during this video will be the meaning of what are atomic bonds, the two most common ones, which are ionic bonds and covalent bonds. I will explain these and give a couple of examples as well. So first of all, what are atomic bonds? Atomic bonds are also called chemical bonding. Chemical bonding is the physical process that takes part for the interactions between atoms and molecules. Bonds can be formed in many ways. There are covalent, ionic, hydrogen, metallic, and many other types of bonds, all having a big and crucial part in all living things. So here I put there are two types, but in reality there's more types of atomic bonds, although I'm only going to be talking about two of them. One being the primary ones, which hold the atoms together, and the second one, which are considered weaker and don't have enough attraction to be together. Let's start with ionic bonds. For ionic bonds, atoms have an outer shell made up of a certain number of electrons, depending on their place on the periodic table, which are typically between the metals and non-metals. Electron shells are filled by transferring electrons from one atom to the other. The donor, or the one that gets robbed, will take on a positive charge, and the ones who are accepting the electrons will receive a negative charge. Why does this happen? Well, often atoms lose electrons, so they need to steal from other atoms, so they reach a stable point, which is the 8 electrons. Okay, so next we have the covalent bonds. On the covalent bonds, atoms like to share their electrons with each other, typically a nonmetal with another nonmetal, which will then produce what we call molecules. This helps both atoms to have their outer shells complete, and a covalent bond is produced by the sharing of atoms and electrons, producing a strong covalent bond. Okay, so just as a little reminder, ionic bonds form chemical compounds and covalent bonds form molecules. So normally covalent molecules are made up of nonmetals with nonmetals, and ionic bonds are formed with alkaline earth metals or alkali metals combined with nonmetals. Alright, so for the first exercise, ignore the two of ionic bonds. We're going to start with the first element, which we choose magnesium, and the second, which will be sulfur. Okay, so magnesium is in the second group, meaning it has 2 outer electrons, and sulfur is in the 6th, so it has 6 outer electrons. But sulfur is sad because he wants 8 electrons. So what's going to happen? Sulfur is going to steal those 2 electrons from magnesium, and he's no longer going to have 6, he's going to have 8 electrons now. And magnesium is going to be happy as well because he will have 0 and it's even. This is another way to represent it as the final outcome. And then the formula for this will be MgS. And the name of the chemical compound is magnesium sulfide. Okay, let's move on with our second example, which we will have our 2 elements, fluorine and sodium. Sodium being in the first group with 1 electron, and fluorine being on the 7th with 7 electrons. So fluorine is gonna steal that 1 electron from sodium, and he's now gonna have 8, and sodium is gonna have none, which can be also be represented like this. The formula for this would be SF. And last but not least, for the ionic bonds examples, we have the element calcium plus chlorine, which calcium is in the second group, which means it has 2 electrons, and chlorine is in the 7th. Since chlorine only needs 1 electron from calcium, it means we gotta add another chlorine with 7 so that calcium can pass that other 1 electron he has left, and the other chlorine can have 8 as well, meaning we will have this other representation, and the formula for this will be CaCl, sorry about the confusion, I don't do the same mistake I did, Cl2, and the name will be calcium chloride. Here are a few examples of the covalent bonds. Okay, so for the first example, we have hydrogen and oxygen, which make up the water molecule. Hydrogen has 1 electron since it's in group 1, and oxygen has 6 since it's in group 6. For the representation of this, we need to remember that oxygen needs 2 hydrogens, and since it's a covalent bond, elements aren't going to steal from each other, so they're going to be together, and this will make up 2 hydrogens, which will have 1 electron each, and 1 oxygen, which will have 8 since they're sharing. This is another way of representing it, and this is the way you write the formula, which is H2O. Alright, so for the second example of covalent bonds, we got nitrogen and hydrogen. So, nitrogen is in the 5th group, which means it has 5 electrons, and hydrogen has 1. Nitrogen goes in the center, and to make up for the other 3 electrons that they need, we add 2 other hydrogens, which make up 3, and this way nitrogen has 8 electrons, and each hydrogen has 1. The name of this molecule is called ammonia. The formula is NH3, and this is another representation. And last but not least, for our covalent bonds examples, we have the elements carbon and fluorine. Carbon is located in group number 4, which means 4 outer electrons, and fluorine is in number 7, which means 7 outer electrons. But then fluorine only needs 1 from carbon, so that means we need another 3 fluorines to make up for the 4 carbons. This way we will have a visual representation that looks kind of like this, where we add all the fluorines that we need, and we add the shared electrons, which will make up 8 electrons for all the atoms. The formula for this molecule is CF4, and it's called carbon tetrafluoride. Okay, so lastly, here are the sources I used, and yeah, this is the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed and learned something new. If you did, press like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.